Hello, hello. I've got an addendum to the previous video here for you for your pleasure, the previous video that I made on Asuka's Wall Oki. I wanted to go over some things that I messed up or that I didn't cover in that first video. This video is not going to be nearly as structured as that first one is. This is only partially scripted. I'm going to do my best to talk about things off the cuff in like bullet point form. Nothing here is going to be nearly as complicated as it was in that first video, but do forgive me if I ramble about things. I'm going to do my best to keep my points concise. For that first video, I went into a lot of detail and I tested as many things as I could, but when I'm doing these theory videos, I'm going to try to do as many of them as I can. There's a lot that I want to talk about with this character. I'm inevitably going to miss some things, or I'm going to discover issues as I keep playing and applying all of these things and all this theory in matches, or I'll find more situations that I want to explore. So when that happens, I will make an addendum like this to the previous videos, so you will have that to look forward to. With that out of the way, I wanted to start this video by gassing up the cornerstone of that previous video, which was had a lot to do with the Basho wall combo and FUFA flip tech. If you haven't watched that first video, or you did, and you aren't using the Basho wall combo or FUFA flip tech, you really should. This tech to keep the other player at the wall is a game changer, and it's gonna level up your gameplay when it comes to your Wall Oki. It's gonna make it almost impossible for the other player to escape without taking extra damage. I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty of it again, because that last video was 46 minutes almost entirely of me explaining this tech. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, please go back and watch that video. The gist of it is that you got a ton of options to deal damage, for against basically any decision that the other player makes. It's really hard for them to get away from the wall, like I said, without taking extra damage or making a hard read on what you're going to do, or by picking a different get up option after every single knockdown. Like, it's a really nasty situation, and I still don't see other Asuka players doing this. I don't see any character in this game besides maybe Kazuya with a wall knockdown game like this. I think this could be one of the most oppressive and devastating Oki scenarios that exists in this game. It is positively ridiculous. So I really recommend working this into your play. This tech is going under the radar, but I think that this ought to be a standard part of Asuka's toolkit. If you're just relying on White Heron or the Sacred Blade splat combo for damage and just letting the other player tech roll away from the wall for free to get away, you're leaving an outrageous amount of damage and control on the table. You can end rounds at the wall with the Basho combo and with the FUFA flip. I really, I'm repeating myself a lot, but I really recommend Asuka players start using Basho as a wall combo and start applying FUFA flip Oki. Because to me, it's clearly Asuka's most powerful advantage state in this game, almost no question. So, once again, if you want more details on this, go back and watch that first video. It's super long of me just yapping almost entirely about how cool and how crazy this setup is and all the options that you have and what it means and what it can do for you. If you're serious about winning with Asuka, it'll be worth your time, I promise. So moving on from that, I have a correction that I wanted to make. In that previous video, I talked about what you could do to punish the other player for standing straight up off the ground or from a back quick roll, I think. I actually don't remember exactly. I'm still internalizing this stuff. There's a lot to remember. But in any case, in that video, I made the impression that after a FUFA flip, that this combo that I'm about to do is like always guaranteed. I make it seem that way. All right. That's what I'm talking about. That will only work if the wall is to Asuka's right. And the reason why is because that's where you get that collision funkiness with the down back one, where the down back one kind of like auto aligns you with the side of the wall enough that you can get that screw without the other player falling off the wall. If the angle isn't perfect like that though, that's not going to work. So here's what you can do instead. This is what you should do. So instead of that, just do back 2, forward 3, into down back 2, forward 3 plus 4. And that'll work every time as far as I can tell. Maybe there's some fringe, like really, really bad angles where it won't work. But in general, I think it will. Otherwise, what you can do, you can step towards the wall and pick up with down back 1, 4. And after the tornado, do forward, forward, 4, into forward, forward, 2, 1 plus 2, which is really similar to in that video I did back to 1 plus 2, 4, if the other player does a wake-up kick. I'm remembering now, actually. That's the combo that you would do after that. So let me show you what that looks like. So that's still pretty good. 81 damage, you still get gusto, and I think it works pretty well, even if you have like a really steep angle. Well, you know, it's kind of tricky. So I guess it's up to you. I gave you 2 combos. The first one is the easiest, and you still get really good reward. So I guess I'll recommend that. But if you think you're swaggy and sassy and you want to step towards the wall and do a pickup, that works too. A little while ago, I finally got fed up with the low reward that Asuka gets after a punch reversal when she has her back to the wall. Normally, when you do a punch reversal mid-stage, you get a forward 3 plus 4 guaranteed grounded hit for a bunch of damage and gusto, and it's really cool. If your back is to the wall though, all you get is forward 2 because it puts them in this low wall slump. You can also do down forward 3 for 1 extra damage, but you're better off just doing forward 2 and getting the gusto. I don't really like this. I don't think it's a lot of damage. It's kind of lame. So I looked into it to see if there's any sauce that I can use to maximize this situation for a bit more damage, and luckily there is. So here's what you can do. To start with, specifically the low wall splat that you get from this reversal, punch reversal with your back to the wall, it's a plus 21 low wall slump. So anything 21 frames or faster is guaranteed. That's why you can do forward 2, that's why you can do down forward 3, but you can't do forward 3 plus 4. You got a lot of frames though, so you can still do something. So here's what you can do. If the other player will tech roll, you can forego the guaranteed hit and tech trap them instead with ultimate tackle. And they can't do shit. Now you get 30 damage instead of like 16 or whatever it is. So that's cool. If they don't tech roll, then forward 3 plus 4 is guaranteed. So that's a pretty decent higher damage mix-up. Wait a minute. Yes. So it's a little bit extra damage than the forward 2. It's not great, but it's 3 extra damage. So that's cool. So that's a basic mix-up that you can apply after punch reversal with your back to the wall. If they tech roll, ultimate tackle. If they don't tech roll, forward 3 plus 4 for the max damage. What you can do alternatively, though, if they don't tech roll, is you can do a down back 4, which will flip them on the ground and put them in an interesting Oki situation. So if I do a punch reversal here, they don't tech roll, down back 4 is guaranteed. If they don't tech roll, then it flips them. And let me demonstrate to you what this means for Oki. This is somewhat similar to the FUFA flip situation that I discussed ad nauseum in the first video. It's not exactly the same though. So I'm just going to simulate the reversal knockdown. Reversal knocks down into face up, feet towards, like this. I'm going to hit them with down back 4, it'll flip them like that into face down, feet towards. So here are your options, depending on what the other player does. First off, if they back quick roll, they recover in back turn, and any moves that you do that are 12 frames or faster are completely unblockable. So for instance, 2-3 will hit, and it'll wall splat. And the other player has to crouch the 2 to avoid it and then block the 3. So I think it's pretty unlikely that if the other player is just going to back quick roll and hold back, they're probably not going to defend against that unless they're really smart and they're watching my videos in a far-flung future. Otherwise, what you can do, if you don't want to be punished, down forward 4, completely guarantee if they back quick roll for 16 damage, which is pretty good. That's really good, I would say. If they tech roll, the flip Oki is pretty much the same as it is after your white herring wall splat, which is to say, down 1+2, like a solid mix-up like that, is pretty hard to connect without moving forward to realign, which will leave you open to like buttons if they start pressing buttons. But if you realign enough, you can pressure their tech roll and annoy them. And after the flip, they won't be able to tech roll very far, so that's cool. If they stand up or wake up kick, just like after a FUFA flip, back 4 2-3 and the back 2 1+2 4 will wall splat them. I'm reading through my notes, don't mind me. I have to refresh myself. I'm going to start with stand up. There we go. Alright. So, here it says, back 4 juggle needs to be converted like after back 2 with a step towards the wall. Okay, so basically you treat both of these exactly the same. Back 2 4 3, step towards the wall, do a combo. Back 4 2 3 rather. Back 2 1+2 4, step towards the wall, combo. Back 2 1+2 4. We'll do that against wake up kicks as well. Except you actually get a raw wall splat. I forgot about that. I remember and learn new things about this character every day. So much to learn. If they do a wake up kick and you back 4, it'll launch, of course, but I mean, you can confirm the whole thing if you're just doing back 4-2, and you still get really good damage, so that's cool. If they side roll, because they're in back turn after this flip, it's really easy to punish the side roll on reaction. So, again, just like I mentioned in the previous video with like a long side roll is a bit of a pain to test, so I haven't done that, but I imagine that it will get hit by a grounded forward 2 as well, or a grounded forward 3+4 if you're really quick about it. And something that I almost forgot to mention that might not be obvious, so I do need to clarify this, just like I did with the FUFA flip stuff in the previous video. Because the other player is in a non-standard knockdown state, like they're not in face-up, feet towards, the other player cannot spring kick or recovery kick. So the wake-up options that I just went over, they're the only ones that you need to worry about. So those are all of your options. All of the above with this face down feet towards FDFT flip tech applies to the white Heron knockdown into down back 4 FDFT flip as well. So just to demonstrate, that's unblockable. So that's another thing that you can leverage, maybe, if somehow you get the other player to not tech roll after White Heron, to add on to the pile of options that I detailed in that previous video. So if maybe you annoy the other player enough with mix-ups when they tech roll, you can get someone to stand the ground and get that funny down back 4 FDFT flip into that cool back roll catch. So show that to your friends. I'm sure they'll be impressed. The down back 4 specifically, the reason I'm saying that instead of down back 3, which is what I detailed mostly as my default after Basho for the FUFA flip, the reason I'm saying down back 4 instead is because down back 4 recovers more quickly. I think you get like an extra 2 frames of recovery, and that's what allows you to do all that. As for the FUFA flip, it turns out that you can back roll catch from the FUFA flip as well. I dismissed this during my testing earlier because the back quick roll from face up feet away is way more evasive. Like, you can't hit them with any mids just because of the way that they're standing up. Like, you don't really have any cool options. And also because as I was primarily testing down back 3, which recovers slower than down back 4. So you get less frames to work with, so you can't really do a back roll catch. After down back 4 FUFA flip, though, you still can't do much, but you can back roll catch with down 4. That's unblockable for 6 damage, which is okay. Down 4 after FUFA only whiffs if the other player stays down and doesn't move. So this will also stop a wake up attack, it'll hit them if they stand up, it'll also hit them if they try to side roll in either direction. So because of this, all this nice coverage it has, down back 4 FUFA flip into down 4 can be a pretty good default option maybe for that coverage, even if you aren't reading a back quick roll in particular, because it'll still clip everything else. So again, another option to throw onto the pile. I didn't talk about throws in the previous video because they aren't really conducive to Wall Oki. A lot of the knockdowns, they kind of move Asuka around in weird ways that are difficult to work with. Like, maybe if you're really smart with the wall angle, you can stop these throws from like almost losing you the wall completely. The big thing though is that after any of these throws, and this is why it isn't really worth talking about in the context of Wall Oki, is that you don't really get any special opportunities at the wall that you don't get mid-stage. So throws are something that I'm going to talk about more in a video that I will do eventually on Asuka's mid-stage Oki. For now though, you do have one throw that has some sauce at the wall, and that's her up forward 1+2, Cherry Blossom. So let's talk about that one. Cherry Blossom, the knockdown is a hard knockdown, obviously, it's a throw. It knocks down into face up, feet away. So that means that they wake up and back turn. So if they stand up or wake up backwards, you can fuck them up. If they stand up to start with, 14 frame moves and quicker are unblockable. It's kind of tricky to buffer a move out of a throw, but if you mash it, it'll come out and you get that big wall splat. If they wake up backwards, down forward 3 will catch them and wall splat. Clean wall splat. And you can do whatever you want. Wake up kicks from face up, feet away, right? Yeah, FUFA, face up, feet away, are 18 frames and up. So if you want to go for coverage, you can use down back 1 to interrupt them. Or if you want to go for something juicier, if you're reading a wake-up kick in particular, you can do back 4 and counter-hit launch them. Side rolls, as per usual with these weird knockdowns. can be punished with a grounded hitting move on reaction if you aren't already committing to a button. And as we've discussed now today in this video, down 4 will clip every single option except staying on the ground for a gruesome 4 to 6 damage depending on what they do, of course. And if they do stay on the ground and do nothing, and they go move, you can hit them with forward 3+4 and you'll be eating good. So you got a lot of options after this at the wall. The issue with this throw at the wall is that you're probably not going to be using it that much. Unless, for example, you're reading a power crush, or you know that the other player is going to do an attack and you're going to do a counter hit, cherry blossom. In those cases, it could probably be worth going for the throw. But something that you should really keep in mind when you're doing this is that in this game, the expected outcome in a lot of situations is that the other player is going to break your throw, and when they break cherry blossom, it's a 180-degree flip. Asuka can get the wall back in various ways, but my vibe with this is generally that it's probably not worth it unless you have a read on something that the throw will interrupt, like a move or a power crush. Because otherwise you have a gajillion options that you can use to damage and knock the other player down at the wall without risking letting them get away so easily, let alone turn the tables on you like they can if they break cherry blossom. But of course, if you're up against a player that doesn't break throws at all, then this is cheap. You know, if they're not like this CPU that I've rudely not set to not escape throws, triple negative, then you have a pretty easy way to set up a nasty Oki situation with like a 12-frame throw. Pretty cool. Yeah, if they're not breaking that throw, spam the shit out of this. But if they are breaking throws, then you have to be a little bit more discerning about how you apply it. One thing that I kind of feel like may have been worth mentioning in that first video that I overlooked, although I'm not blaming myself because it is a bit weird, is what on earth you do when you get a side splat. Side splats happen to Asuka a lot. I think they're like way more common in this game for some reason than they were in Tekken 7. Asuka's combos seem to have a magnetic attraction to the wall when it's to her side. Her forward 2+3, or forward 2-3 rather, conversion in particular, does slightly align a combo to Asuka's left. So that will be one reason why you will get a lot of side walls if you're using combos that convert into this, just for your information. But in any case, I digress. When you get a side wall, this is going to happen a lot, so you need to be prepared to salvage this situation so that you don't completely lose out on damage and momentum. So here's what you can do. For the record, starting out with, I'm only testing tech rolls in this situation. It's highly likely when you're doing a juggle and you have a side wall like this, that the other player is going to see that and they're going to be mashing tech roll, waiting for that side wall to happen so that they can tech roll away from the wall. If they don't tech roll, you can probably get whatever grounded hit you want, but they're probably going to tech roll, and I think that's the safest thing to assume, especially because the situation doesn't happen often, so there's not really much room for mind games there, so you're probably best to just assume they're going to try to tech away from the wall and take advantage of that. So, with that being said, I want to describe the mechanics of the side wall first. It's going to happen in one of two ways. Either you're going to get a raw side splat like this, where they drift into the wall and they just splat and they fall off kind of slowly. In that case, you can actually pick up off the wall or do some pretty neat, like you can key charge tackle or unblockable them. The other thing that will happen though, depending on what you do, is you'll get this scaled side splat, which it'll happen if you hit them during or after the side splat, in which case you get this much quicker fall off where you don't get anything guaranteed. You can't pick up off it or anything, so you have to pressure their tech roll. So here's what your actual options are. I'm going to start with a raw side splat. The scaled side splat is more common, but here's what you can do if you're lucky enough to recognize that you'll get a raw side splat quickly enough that you haven't already committed to an attack, and you'll be able to take advantage of it. So, number one, you can pick up. It's really awkward to set this up, but yeah, you can pick them up as they're falling off and do a combo. So you can easily do a screw like that. You can also do like down back forward 3. And that can happen where it just bops them on the wall like that and does some damage. But if it does happen to knock them away, I want to see if I can get it to happen. Then you can do a special tech trap that doesn't make much of an appearance in this game compared to Tekken 7. You forward 3 cancel into down 1+2 or 1+2. That'll track a tech roll, and it's a 50-50, and that's cool. You're probably not going to do that much because it's a really specific situation, but if you're really slick, maybe you can pull that off. What you can do otherwise, like I mentioned earlier, you can key charge tackle or forward 3 unblockable them, and neither of these are interruptible. Okay, so you do have to actually do it with the proper timing, sort of. So it's a little bit tricky. It really depends on the side wall you get, but it will work if you're on point, and they won't be able to interrupt it. With the key charge tackle, you do have to be kind of careful that you're far enough away from the other player that their tech roll won't cross you up. I don't know how likely that is to actually happen in a match, but it happened to me during testing, so I wanted to throw that out there, that there is a chance that the key charge tackle won't be guaranteed depending on your spacing and timing. But with that being said, yeah, your second set of options is to tech trap them with the key charge tackle or the forward 3 unblockable. A scaled side splat is going to be way more common on the other hand, because what's usually going to happen is that you're going to get a launcher with the wall to your side, and you're going to do your B&B combo and just pray to baby Jesus the entire time that the wall doesn't decide to magnetically attract the other player. And when that happens, you'll probably be in the middle of a filler like that, and you'll hit them when they're on a side splat, and so you'll get that much quicker drop off where you can't really do anything. And in this case, what you gotta do is you just have to pressure their tech roll with something quicker than you would if you had the raw side splat opportunity. First thing that you can do, and this is the easiest and most reliable thing you can do, this is tried and true Asuka brain. I hope that didn't come through on the mic. I was cracking my knuckles. So you do forward 3, 1 spin. It will track the tech roll, and this is uninterruptible. And this does also 7 damage on chip, so that's cool. And it's what? I always forget what the exact frame is. Only -2 on block for a knockdown mid that does pretty good damage and does 7 chip. So that's really cool. And if you're feeling greedy, like you're feeling about going gambling, you can go for more reward with extra spins. Get that nice +6 on block with the 2 spins, or even go for the whole unblockable if they're just going to sit there and stare you down like a deer in headlights. This is almost always what I do. This is like, I'm not the only Asuka that's like this, where this is in our blood. If we get this side wall, we just press forward 3 and start mixing them up with that, with like, how many spins am I going to do, huh? And it's really effective. Number 2, what you can do, I actually noticed this during testing tonight. It seems like something that you can do is, after you get this this doo-doo quick splat, the scaled side splat, you can walk forwards a bit and then track them with down 1+2 or 1+2. So if the other player attacks here, I believe this also works if they back quick roll. This is a tech trap 50-50 if timed properly. So if timed properly, this will track every tech. This is wrong. Down 1+2 won't track back quick roll. And it isn't interruptible. Now, this isn't battle tested because I just noticed this like 2 hours ago, but it is worth looking into, I think. This seems like a pretty solid option. Otherwise, you can track the tech roll with wall running 1+2. Eisen swing, they can't interrupt that. They also won't be able to interrupt forward 3. So, solid little mix there that you can do as well. If you get a back splat, as far as I can tell, a back splat has the same mechanics as a side splat, where you can get like this slower, raw back splat, or you can get this faster scaled back splat if you happen to hit them during or after the splat. The big difference between this and a side splat is that when you get a back splat, the other player is practically invincible. So you can't pick them up, you don't get any follow-up, you can't really screw them or anything like that. Tornado them, rather. That didn't sound very good. Pause. So, with that said, apart from the fact that you can't pick up from a back splat, your options after a back splat are the same as they are from a side splat. And a back splat is thankfully a lot easier to work with because you're probably getting a back splat from like a back turn launch, and when you're doing a combo on a back turned opponent, it's a lot easier to predict when you're gonna get a back splat, wall splat. So with that said, your options, again, are basically the same as after a side splat, minus the pickup. So on a raw wall splat, a raw back splat rather, you can key charge tackle them, or you can forward 3 unblockable. And they won't be able to do anything about it if they tech roll. On a scaled back splat, just like with the scaled side splat, you can do your forward 3 and they won't be able to interrupt that, and you can put more spins in it. You know, if you want spin to taste. You can do the walk forward 50-50 tech trap, which again, it is, you just walk forward and you track them a little bit with the walk forward, and if you time it properly, then when you do down 1+2 or 1+2 for your mid-low power mix, it'll track them and it won't be interruptible. And beyond that, you can track them with Eisen swing or forward 3. Assuming they don't crouch. So that's cool, and that can't be interrupted, obviously. Forward 3, in this situation in particular, I think is kind of interesting, and this is why I had them set crouching. Because they can't tech roll very far away from the wall here, so depending on the angle and how they tech roll, when you hit them with forward 3, if they crouch, you'll get a clean wall splat. So that's pretty cool. That'll contribute a little bit to the mix-up in this situation, I think. So that's a good thing to consider. And that's it for now. If I discover anything else in the future, or I need to make any more corrections, I'll be doing so in the form of other addendum videos just like this one. As for what I want to talk about next in terms of juicy Asuka theory, I want to make some videos about Asuka's mid-stage Oki. There's a lot to go over, so it's going to be split into at least 2 videos. The first one that I'm planning on doing next is going to be about Asuka's combo setups. So I'm going to talk about all the different things that you can do to maximize Oki when you get a launch into a combo. So that's going to be really cool. There's going to be a lot more there than you might think. And after that, I'll do a video discussing all your Oki options after literally every other one of Asuka's knockdowns. So her knockdown mids, her throws, options that you have after some things that are non-standard that you may not be aware of. So that'll be really cool. So stay tuned for all of that. With that said, I'm going to make it a point at the end of every one of these videos to say that if you want to talk to me, or you want to talk to other cool Asukas, or you want to be on the front lines of exploring this character and trying to make her a badass in this game, join the Asuka Discord, the official Asuka Discord. I'll have it linked in the description. Join it. It's a great place. We're all really cool. We don't bite. So, see you next time.